We are back live. I know we've had loaded phones since the start of the show. I know your calls will be all over the map, but Lindsey Williams can comment on those. Later, at the very end of the show, I'm going to play a clip of a senator that actually asked some hard questions of the private Federal Reserve head, Bernanke. They won't say where the $9.7 trillion now they've stolen went. And there's a Bloomberg headline from Friday. Fed refuses to release bank data, insist on secrecy. That's what this police state's all about, so the offshore banks that control Washington can carry out their heist. Also, the media is saying that Obama is basically making his entire policy system be built around attacking Rush Limbaugh. They have to do that because the Republicans and Democrats all vote to expand government, attack our liberties and freedoms, so they have to act like there's a difference between the two parties. And that will energize the liberal base. That will energize the mainline conservative base. This is a basic form of manipulation. We'll go over it. I also have some other important news. You know, there's that Bob Dylan song, Sundown on the Union. And he says in there, you know, someday even growing your own home garden will be against the law. And I've seen articles around Europe and the United States where they're restricting people even having gardens in their backyards saying, you might grow marijuana. See, no citizen can even be trusted not just to have a gun. You can't be trusted to grow tomatoes. And if you go back to slaves in Europe under feudalism, they couldn't grow their own food. It's a system of control, and I saw that out of the Tulsa World. Tulsa City Councilor questions community gardens, saying allowing citizens to grow gardens in their backyards. Yeah, we're so controlled, can't have a garden. He says because they might grow marijuana, so we have to have police inspections of your garden. See, all guilty until proven innocent. Oh, my gosh, you got a tomato plant. And here in Austin, everybody I talk to that gets raided by the police, it's for having bloodweed in their backyard that grows everywhere. Oh, that bloodweed looks a little bit like it. We don't have a warrant, but we're coming in your house. It's such a sick joke. They use the phony drug war to get involved in our lives, and the bigger the drug war gets, the more drugs on our streets, the more liberties and freedoms we lose. Look at Mexico collapsing because of their phony drug war. You end the drug war, the crime gangs, the syndicates, the banks laundering the money will rise up like a cold sore. It'll all become very, very clear. But they won't do that because it's their plan to bring down this nation. It's the globalists. They want to conquer us. It's what they do. And until we wake up to that, it's over. Now, I want to introduce Lindsey Williams. Lindsey hadn't been on the Sunday syndicated show. I know a lot of our listeners tune into both the weekday shows and the Sunday show. But, Lindsey, in the time we've got, I would just ask you to basically recap who you are, the story you've told, the information that's come out. What you wrote about 25 years ago came out to be true in declassified documents, that there's more oil in one area of Alaska than in all of Saudi Arabia, and they won't let us have it because they want to, be able to manipulate the prices. We also know that, you said 7 months ago on this show and others that the oil price was going to drop from $147 a barrel to below $50. Everybody laughed at you, but you have these former executive contacts when you worked with the board of Atlantic Richfield and others as their chaplain, and you've since talked to this individual again. And you went on my show and made those predictions because it was directly from the globalist. Just like we infiltrated Bilderberg in 2006 and said they're going to run the stock market up to 14,000 again and then drop it in 2008. But not because we're geniuses. We cover what the elite are actually doing. And we talked about how they would claim it was the subprime mortgages that caused it when it wasn't. And then that they would steal basically all the money because we had sources inside Bilderberg. And that's covered, by the way, in my new film, The Obama Deception, that comes out March 15th. So just basically recap, and then everything we've covered in the last 3 or 4 interviews we've done, condense it down, what's happening in the world. Lindsey Williams, good to have you back with us.
Thank you, Alex, for allowing me to be this weekend with you on your weekend show for the first time. I feel honored. And yes, let's go back a ways. First of all, let me say that back on July the 28th, you were bold enough to allow me to present something that possibly no way in this world it could happen. But I guess as a result of you knowing that for the past 35 years the elite have told me things, you allowed me on your show to tell you, because I had a contact from them 8 months ago and was told everything that the elite planned to do in the world for the next year to a year and a half. And it has happened exactly like they said it. But let me go back so that folks will understand why I can say the things that I'm going to say today, because today I'm going to tell you how things have already taken place and everything that will happen for the next year. It began for me 35 years ago. I was asked to be the chaplain on the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline, and the elite, and folks, let me say as emphatically as I can that positively is a group of people on the face of the earth who control the world. And since I was chaplain on the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline, they invited me to sit in on their board meetings in an advisory capacity in order to help the relationship between management and labor as they were building the biggest pipe ever constructed on the face of the earth for the carrying of crude oil from the Prudhoe Bay, huge new American oil field on the Arctic Ocean. Well, I had the experience of my lifetime. Now, by the providence of God, it had to have happened, because how would a little unknown, insignificant missionary flying airplanes out in the bush of Alaska all of a sudden be allowed to sit with the people you hear about in the World Bank, the IMF, top oil company officials of the world? It could have only happened by the providence of God. Very few people on the face of this earth have ever lived with the elite for 3 years' time. I did. Sat across the dinner table from them. Stayed in the same dorms with them at Prudhoe Bay on the oil field. These were not men coming to my church. I was on their oil field. They greeted me kind of like a mascot, told me everything that I asked, never withheld anything from me, and I had an opportunity to literally observe the elite of the world firsthand, as probably nobody else ever has that would be allowed to ever tell the story, and I'm quite sure they didn't think that I would. Well, over the past 35 years, everything that I've ever been told by them, I have told it to the world. And a few times I've been contacted, and they've said, "Chaplain, you're saying too much, and you're going to have to back off. If you don't, we're going to have to take action." Well, that's exactly what happened back 8 months ago. One of them called me. This is the second time this has happened in 35 years. This gentleman I had not seen for about 25 years. I know who he is. He's 82 years of age now, but once you become a part of them, you never get away from it. And he said, "Chaplain, you've got to quit saying certain things. You're talking too much, and you're getting us into trouble. And if you don't quit, we're going to have to take action."
And by the way, for those that don't know, your video went as viral as Loose Change, the most downloaded film in Internet history. It was number one on Google Video for 6-7 months with millions of views a day. So that's why they called you. It was an international sensation. The info you've been telling us for myself 13 years finally got a lot of attention. So they call you up. They threaten you. Continue.
Yes, and what he said was not too pleasant. And I remember very well that John F. Kennedy, the President of the United States of America, decided one day he'd buck the elite, change over the currency, and do away with the Federal Reserve. Well, it didn't take long for him to get shot. So there was no sense in the world in me arguing with him. I talked with the gentleman a few minutes, agreed to pull my video, redo it, agreed to shut down my website, which you won't find it there any longer. But that's not the important thing. The important part is what I can do in helping you who are listening to this program today know everything that the elite told me for the next year and a year and a half that they plan to do. Because after this gentleman and I came to agreement, he said, "Now, Chaplain, if you'll do these simple things," he said, "we'll let you alone and let you go ahead and talk like you want to." Well, at that point, I asked him, I decided I'd be friendly. I said, "How's your family, your wife? Where have you been living since I saw you 25 years ago?" He became quite polite. And at that point, I began asking him questions. And for 45 minutes' time, he talked with me on the phone. Now, if you can imagine, Alex, I must say, I put on my britches just like you do every morning.
This is a former CEO of one of the big 5 oil companies, but go ahead.
Yeah, and he was talking with me on the phone, and he said, "This is what we're going to do." Now, that was when crude oil was $147 a barrel.
It actually hit 150 to be technical, but go ahead.
Yeah, and there's no way in this world that it was going to come down to $50 a barrel, but he said to me it's coming down to $50 a barrel. He said the price of gasoline at the gas pump is going to $1.50 to $2 a gallon. He said, and I said, "Why are you going to do this?" He said, "We're going to do it for the purpose of bankrupting OPEC, oil-producing countries of the world." This was unthinkable. The richest people on the face of the earth to be bankrupted. I said, "What's this going to do to that city over there called Dubai, 5-star, never anything been built like it before?" He said it's going to become a ghost town. He went right down the line with everything that was going to happen, including what was going to take place for the next 12 months to a year and a half in the United States of America. Now, Alex, I would like to do something very unusual on your program as it goes along today. I have never done this in the 35 years that I have had the privilege of doing radio talk shows all across America. I have never done what I'd like to do on your show today. You see, knowing the elite personally, sitting across the dinner table from them, living in the dorms with them, talking with them on their level, I was able to